The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
We're back with Dr. Underwood. Of course, we're talking this second episode on political self-determination with President of the University of Guam, Dr. Robert Underwood, former delegate, Guam delegate to Congress as well. Doc, prior to going to break, you talked about the members of Congress who were members who you got to basically come and discuss this with about Guam's political self-determination. But and I've also heard you in previous times when you were in Congress, you said, you know, your job, I mean, constantly every day you're educating people about Guam. Right. I mean, it's never changing. There's always new members of Congress. By the time you're done, you have to go back and re-educate them as well as that.
And they all have attention deficit.
That's where they got that term, right? Yeah. Anyway, so Doc, how did they take to that then? How did they take to that again, our quest for political self-determination? I mean, the 25 members that you had obviously took to it, but the majority did not.
Well, what happens is that there's two things. One is that they think, and this is our own fault as well, they think that when I'm talking about political status change, that it's really kind of just a request for more financial aid. So what is it that you really want? Do you want more money for something? No, we want to fundamentally change the relationship. What's wrong with the relationship? We give you everything, you don't pay taxes. And not paying taxes is really a big part of their thinking. And you know, it's hard to explain here at home that when people in Congress, get elected to Congress, when the average American votes for their member of Congress or they vote for their political representation, their number one issue is taxes, how to spend it and how to collect it. And then when you get to the case of Guam, and they're not collecting it, and we're spending it, they're saying, what could be possibly wrong with that relationship?
Pretty good deal, yeah?
Pretty good deal. Why are you complaining about it? So that's always the kind of the subtext of that. So it's a very, so getting into the weeds of that is very difficult because they have a mindset on that. Remember that people get elected and diselected on the basis of their tax position. So what member of Congress is going to go out on a limb and say, the people of Guam who don't pay taxes deserve more?
Yeah. Now, Doc, you recently came back from D.C. You made a presentation, I think, Department of Interior, was it not? Right. Yeah. And you come back and you said, hey, look, this has to be taken up, not necessarily go through the congressional route, but this needs to be championed by the administration, whoever the administration may be. Now, of course, we've been courted. We're being courted now because there's a convention coming up, and a Guam vote may be crucial to whether it's Democrat or Republican. We're going to hear everything nice about Guam. Guam would be very important again. Guam number one. Okay, I've yet to hear anything in the national media how the front runners are talking about Guam and Guam's quest, whatever it may be. But again, as you said, taxes are very important, and us not paying taxes. What else do you want? You got a good deal. I mean, come on, what are you talking about? I mean, people here, they're paying taxes. You're not paying taxes there. Again, and you served in Congress. Were you voting at the time in committee?
Yes.
Yeah, you voted. Okay.
Voted in committee.
Yeah. But it's up to whoever the majority. The Republicans are the majority.
That's
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
So that
majority decides what you can vote.
Yeah. That being the case, it's really hard for you to promise your vote to somebody and to help them come to your side because you're going to promise them a vote. It's hard to barter at this point, you know, in our position over there. So even if we go through the executive branch, they'll tell us what we want to now. But after the election,
yeah, I think the executive branch route would be a broader route because every initiative that has passed relative to the territories was introduced by the executive. And the only time that anything has happened that we've tried, we tried with the Constitution, we tried with the Commonwealth Act, we tried to go through Congress. It's never going to come out. The chances of it are pretty minimal. But the Organic Act, when you go back to all the changes that are happening, they were introduced with the by the executive branch. So what I was proposing is that particularly the most affected island governments are American Samoa, the Virgin Islands, and Guam, is that their governors together write a position paper that asks the new president, whoever that may be, to end U.S. imperialism, end this legacy of imperialism by proposing a Federal Relations Act that will respect self-determination and that will honor mutual consent, a kind of a third path away from where we're going now. Now, if President Trump or President Clinton introduces that, then it has the added juice of the administration. Right now, what the Department of Interior does, and I have a lot of friends in Interior, and what the administration does is they say, we're waiting for the territories to tell us what they want before we take action. And so they use the division of the territories, and they use the inability of a territory to articulate a vision as a reason not to act, because, so at the end of every administration, going back to the, George Herbert Walker Bush, to Bill Clinton, to the second Bush, to now Obama, every administration at the last 5 or 6 months of their administration will say, geez, what did we do for the territories?
Oh, yeah.
Let's have a forum. Let's issue a report. Let's do something. And that's what each one of them do. So it always comes at the end. What I'm proposing is let's try to move it to the beginning.
So, Doc, you helped fulfill Obama's quota then? That he did something?
That he did something. Yeah, in a way you could say that. But I didn't praise the Obama administration. I just said, this is not going to work. But it did do something. That forum did do something. Is that it clarified, and what Esther Kiaina did was she brought in the State Department. So the State Department attorney clarified that the United States has responsibilities at the UN. Now that's the first time I've heard that at an Interior forum. And she brought in the Interior attorney, who characteristically said, territories have no rights except what Congress gives them.
But and that leads to my next question here, Doc, is this. Obviously, the front runner. Well, we have one of the front runners as well in the Republican side. That's a constitutionalist. Right. Okay, we have Ted Cruz that's vying. He's saying that of course Donald Trump's not going to be the nominee. I don't know if Ted Cruz would make a better one as well. Constitutionalists at this point, a U.S. constitutionalist, scares me. Obama's a constitutionalist as well. Yeah. But when you read the essence of the founders of the Constitution, when they wrote the Constitution, they did not necessarily have the territories in mind in writing the Constitution and taking over and colonizing. I mean, as a matter of fact, they wrote the Constitution because they were colonized. They wanted the independence for that. So a constitutionalist will have to read what the forefathers have written and are not necessarily good for us.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
So if we really follow that logic through, then you would have to introduce a constitutional amendment to, which the chances of that are pretty minimal of succeeding, because you'd have to go through state legislatures. But the other part is that the insular cases gives a grant of authority to Congress to do basically what it wants in the territories. In other words, if Congress wanted to pass a mutual consent provision in the relationship with the territories, it could do that. If it said that it is in the national interest to allow an election of indigenous self-determination, it could do that. That's how the Hawaiian Homelands Act was created. The Hawaiian Homelands Act was created in the territory of Hawaii by the U.S. Congress because it said it had a compelling state interest to give away public lands to Hawaiians.
But Doc, why would the federal government consent to a mutual consent clause if you've already got if you've already can do what is that you can do, okay? Now, if we're starting all over, we're courting the U.S. government to come here and say, hey, we need to have mutually consenting clause here. Oh, of course, we have to both sit down. But if you can already, and if you're already the boss, why now would you try to give up some of that power?
That's because if your initiative is to end U.S. imperialism, see, so it is constitutionally, at a broader constitutional level, what we have on the kind of government we have in Guam and the Virgin Islands is un-American. It's un-American. It's not the only legitimate form of governance is consent of the governed. In this case, we have no consent of the governed. It is classically un-American and imperial. So legally, it is those things. So if the U.S. government wanted to end that, if there was a far-thinking president who said, well, yeah, that's interesting, we can wipe the slate clean, we can tell the world we ended our last vestiges of imperialism by taking care of creating a process whereby the Virgin Islands, American Samoa, and Guam could resolve it, it would be a feather in their cap. But I'm not saying it's easy, but I can tell you that that's easier route than going through Congress.
You know, Congressman, I've got a new slogan for the license plate. Very un-American, American territory. Gotta take a quick break. Be right back.